This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Schwaadeheim. But before that, this video is brought to you by Mervyn Nuts and Galcomp Gamer. Thank you for being farmer barons. So the Schwaadeheim map can be found at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Let me read you some of the description. Welcome to Schwaadeheim. This map contains 197 farmlands, 135 fields, of which 14 are meadows. This map also includes 39 distinctive forestry areas, 2 equipped farms with a single farmhouse that is located in the city. There are also 2 additional building areas for farms and 3 building areas for additional productions. Speaking of productions, this map has over 20 productions pre-placed. In addition, we have a vehicle dealer, livestock dealer, various purchasing points for animal feed and consumables, 11 sell points, a BGA, rock crusher, and, well, lot more. This map also does include the 20 collectibles from Pulp and a custom soil map. Let's go ahead and load into the map. In addition to the mods we typically use when we take a look at maps, this map does have several required mods. So we are going to use our normal mod loadout, which is additional field info, additional game settings, animal food overview, field lease, field calculator, as well as precision farming. We're also going to be using the bunker silo new fangled variety, cowshed 3+0, diesel pallet, Dutch shed pack, feed mixing plants, garden plot, grain drying, pig shed, seed production, and storage pallets. I will tell you, if you load this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, you will find that the farms are built out exactly how you're going to see them here in new farmer mode. In addition, in those alternate game modes, you do own all of your starting vehicles. The only difference is you do not own any land, nor do you have the same starting balance. So you'll have more money in farm manager and you'll have less money in start from scratch as you would with farm manager, but still far more than you have here in new farmer mode. When you load in for the very first time, you do load here at your farmhouse, which is again in town, somewhat removed from the main starting farm. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA itself. And you'll see that we load in down here in town just north of field 73. This map does include all the standard crops available to us in Farm Sim 22, as well as the additional crops in the premium edition. We take a look at our farmlands overview. You'll see we start out by owning farmland ID number 2. That is the main starting farm. We also have our farmhouse, which is here at farmland ID 108. So 108 can be bought for $8,300. Meanwhile, farmland ID 2 can be bought for $115,000. In addition, there is a secondary farm that is pre-populated that can be bought for $79,000. We also have a build site that's going to be down here for 3 construction areas. It's going to be 105, 106, and 107. All 3 of those can be bought for $15,000 to $18,000. We have a buildable plot here in Farmland ID 4 that can be bought for $35,000. And there is to be another building plot right here at Farmland ID 194 that can be bought for $91,000. We do have a biogas plant, which is down here south of Field 92. It is not land that you can buy. You will need to get the land when you buy the actual biogas plant itself. Let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland lease screen. The farmland lease screen is going to show us all of the viable farmlands on the map, how large those farmlands are, and if those farmlands include any field or fields, what is included. And then lastly, we're going to see how much any one given piece of farmland is going to cost us. You see we have several fields here that are somewhat lining up with our farmland number, and then they just go completely wonkies. So we can't really use that as a good judge. Farmland looks to be fairly expensive on this map. And let's go ahead and take a look at our field calculator screen. This is going to show us the specific sizes of each particular field. Then we can go back and cross-reference that with our farmland lease screen, figure out which farmland we need to buy in order to get which particular field. You see here, several of these fields are going to be less than 1 hectare in size. There are a few that are larger than that. For example, field 107 is 3.5. But overall, I think this map is going to be working out well for small to medium-sized machinery. We do have the standard crop counter available to us in Farm Sim 22 on this particular map. And if we take a look at our prices screen, you will see that we do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game crops that are available to us in FS22. In addition, we do have the ability to sell our eggs, wool, and milk, as well as our silage, hay, straw, and grass. As we continue down through our base game production items, we once again do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game production items, again, that are available in FS22. In addition, we do have the ability to buy bulk lime, as well as get rid of our stones. We do not have the ability to buy any of or sell any of the platinum expansion production items that come with the platinum expansion, which is a little disappointing because we do have so many forestry areas available on the map. If we are playing with the premium expansion, we do have the ability to do production and crops with that. And speaking of crops and production, we do have some custom production here on the map. We have the ability to dry wheat, barley, and oat, as well as maize. We have a premium potato processor. We can produce cornmeal, millet flour, oatmeal, and barley flour, in addition to our normal flour. And then we have our new crops in red beets, carrots, and parsnips. We do start out with a fair bit of starting machinery, and all of that is new. None of it is leased, and is all fairly maintained. We also start out with 5 sheep, 20 cows, and 21 chickens on the starting farm. And if you buy the secondary farm, you will find that we will have chickens and pigs also already over at that area as well. We do have contracts available on this map for fields that we do not own. And we start out owning a TMR mixer, as well as seed production and a garden plot. All 3 of those are placed here at the starting farm. This map does have the 20 Halt Belarun collectibles, as I mentioned earlier. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting fleet. We start out with the Fendt 718 Vario, as well as the 714 Vario and John Deere 7810 medium tractors. We have a Rattle Smash Nova 330 harvester that is paired up with the PowerStream 500 grain header, as well as the N40B Nardi heady trailer. We have the 1986 pickup truck, as well as a pair of Welger DK115 trailers. We have Agrimaz POV 5 XL plow, as well as the Cineo, okay, 4000 super cultivator. We have the HR 4040 DS power harrow that is paired up with the Venta 4030 DS seeder. These are often used in pairs. We have the Amazon Presea 4500 2C super planter, as well as a Super Cease 800 slurry tanker. We have the F240 mower, as well as the Boss Alpine 251 forage wagon. We have the RA142 Kuhn TMR mixer, as well as the Q7M front loader arms. And we have a front loader bucket and pallet fork. Do notice that this front loader bucket is modified, so it is going to hold additional capacity above and beyond what the typical front loader bucket is going to hold. We have a 2300 kilogram front weights, as well as an 1800 kilogram front weight. We have a T-Pack U. This is going to be for compacting silage. And then we do start out with 3 fillable metal boxes. And these fillable metal boxes start out loaded with TMR. If we come back here to our vehicle shop and take a look at our mods and DLCs page, you will see that we do have our seeds production, storage pallets, and diesel pallets. Those are all required mods. If we take a look at the map itself, we do have some custom vehicles and or implements. So we have a modified Amazon TA TS3200 lime spreader. So this has been set up to do lime and fertilizer, as well as the trailed Amazon spreader. We have the MKS8DS that has been set up to transport diesel. We also have then our HR40DS and Venta 4030DS. These have been modified in some way. I'm not really picking it up right off the top of my head. There, we can buy those in a pair. We have a modified John Deere 7810, as well as a modified front loader buckets and wheel loader buckets. Then we have little bags of mineral feed, seed, solid fertilizer, chicken feed, cow food, sheep food. We have big tanks of, big barrels, I guess I should say, of herbicide. And then we can buy pre-wrapped cow feed in TMR or square or round bales. I'm just going to quickly tab over to our starting farm. Inside here we have our maintenance trigger, and it is, while it's not marked out, it is directly in front of the wrench. So that is the tractor that is currently under the maintenance trigger. In addition, we have open chickens, free-range chickens, so we have our food trough there. This took me a little while to find, but we have our chicken buy point way back here in the back of the shed. 60 chickens in total can go in here. Then we have our spawn point for our eggs. Here we have those 3 empty metal boxes that are full of TMR. We also start out with some solid fertilizer pallets. Inside of this machine shed, we do have a pile of lime that has been placed down here. We do have bale storage and pallet storage pre-placed. That is available right here. Then around behind that, we do have a TMR mixer. So that's going to be located right there. We have our manure heap for our cows. Then we have our food trough and straw trigger inside of there. We have a delivery point for our cows. We can hold a total of 80 in this particular facility. Then we have our milk trigger. We have a silage bunker located here behind the cows. Now, with respect to, is this farm customizable? For the most part, it is. But one of the things that we cannot get rid of is this silage bunker. So that is important to note. If you are possibly thinking of wanting to rearrange things, the silage bunker is fixed, but most everything else can be sold. Here we have our seed production. We do have diesel storage. Then this is going to be our sheep pen. So we have our food trough, we have our water trough, we have our delivery point for our sheep, and within the sheep pen we can hold 75 in total. Now, one thing that I did not necessarily easily find previously was our wool spawn point. Let's look around a little bit and see if we can't maybe find that now quickly. I didn't even think actually to look for that earlier. I was hunting around a bit for the chicken area. But the wool, well, right now it is somewhat evading me. Maybe we'll find it here in a little bit. Or if you happen to know where it is, go ahead and drop that down in the comments below. It might help someone else out. And here on the other side of the silage bunker, we then also have our garden plot. So we have our dump point. We have our pallet spawn point for our vegetables and fruits and such, and then we have our interactive icon right there. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about custom production that is available on the map. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and buy the second farm, as well as take control of all of the production on the map. That way we get a good idea of what is available and what the recipes are by looking at our production overview. With respect to productions, again, we have our TMR mixer that's going to take hay, silage, straw, and mineral feed and mix that into TMR. Seed production is going to bring in wheat, herbicide, and water. Then for our garden plot, we're going to need seed, solid fertilizer, and water in order to produce our tomatoes, lettuce, and strawberries. Our BGA is fairly standard here, taking silage, slurry, manure, or sugar beet cut, and producing then digestate as well as methane and energy. We have our sawmill, taking logs and making planks or wood chips. Fairly standard bakery, producing breads and cakes, as well as a fairly standard dairy operation. We have our sugar mill, which is going to take sugar beets and sugar cane, convert that into sugar, as well as our cotton and wool going into our fabric production, and then our fabric into clothing. Our oil mill looks fairly standard as well as our cereal factory. Down at the grain mill, though, we do have some changes. We can make wheat flour as well as oatmeal. Oatmeal is going to be oats into oatmeal. Then we have sorghum flour, barley flour, millet flour, which is going to be oats. So we can make oatmeal or millet flour with our oats. Then we have cornmeal. We can produce diesel fuel by either delivering canola or sunflowers. And then we can dry our grass into hay down at the grass dryer. We have a fermenter that's going to take grass, diesel, chaff, hay, or straw and convert that into silage. Solid fertilizer production, manure, water, and lime to get our solid fertilizer. We're going to bring regular potatoes and water in order to get premium potatoes, a little bit of pig food, slurry, and stones as a result. We also have a facility to go ahead and chop up our sugar beets for most effective sugar production. We have our grain dryer. We're going to deliver wheat, diesel, barley, corn, and oat, and produce dried wheat, dried barley, dried maize, and dried oat, as well as a little bit of stone as a byproduct. We're going to bring a pig food mixer in the mix here up at the second farm, where we're going to deliver potatoes, corn, wheat, and canola to get our pig food. Then lastly, our seed production, again, over at the secondary farm, wheat, herbicide, and water to produce seeds. Let's jump up here and take a look and see how the precision farming soil map is being applied to these fields. This map does have a custom soil map. The vast majority of the land here is going to be either loamy sand or sandy loam. You've got a little bit of loam to the north and south, but then we also have a little bit of silty clay mixed in north and south as well. Now, to that extent, as far as trying to find our wool, I looked again all around here and I did not see anything obvious as far as where the wool might spawn in at. Nothing clearly indicating where that might be. So we're going to have to deduct a little bit of points when it comes down to player and interactive areas being clearly marked. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. Again, as far as this farm being customizable, if you sell all the animals, you can get rid of all of the animal pens. Now, when you do that, the fenced in area here with the sheep stay, but the triggers go away. The cow barn does vanish, and I guess I slightly misspoke because I was not successful in getting rid of the chickens, the chicken area. I could sell the shed, but the chicken area itself would remain. So that would be the triggers, as well as the deco bits here with the food trough and these two little watering cans on either side of the shed. Let's get a little altitude and kind of take ourselves a little bit of a look around. I was thinking this area to the west was initially like water. That is not the case. Over those hills, we just got barren land. We'll take a look down the southern part of the map here. little lake between us and the hills. Got our town area off to the west. And then the majority of the northwest is going to be reserved for fields. We do have the ability to draw water out of this little lake right by the farm. In fact, there's a lane leading us right down to the water edge. Got a little bit of a campground going on here. Over here we have diesel production. Right there, we have our stone crusher. This is the secondary farm. I have gone ahead and purchased this. None of these triggers will work until you do so. This has chickens and pigs. And once again, at this farm, you can sell everything minus the chickens. So with respect to, are the player farms customizable? Yes, they are for the most part. We are going to deduct a little bit of points because of the chicken coop areas. So we're going to give the map a total of 3/4 of a point with respect to that metric. We got some production and sell points down below. Here we have our sawmill. Here on the plateau, we then also have a sell point. Several fields up here on the top. Let's make our way down the western edge of the map, and it's going to get super busy once we get over here to the town. So before we get down there, let's talk about the production that's built in. This map has 22 production facilities built in. We have the BGA, a sawmill, a bakery, a dairy, a sugar mill, spinnery, tailor, oil, cereal mill, grain mill. We have diesel production. We have 2 grass dryers on the map. We also have a fermenter, fertilizer production, potato sorting or potato cleaning facility, sugar beet cutter, TMR mixer, seed production, a garden plot, as well as a pig food mixer. And most of those productions are here in town. For example, we have our oil mill. We have a buy point for some products. We have a sell point. We're a cereal factory. We have our flour mill. Another production facility right there. We have our spinnery. We have our dairy, our bakery. We have a tailor, our grocery store. We have a pizzeria sell point. And then this is our starting farmhouse area right here. Just down the street from that, we have the 3 buildable plot areas for additional productions. Tucked away in the woods here, we have a grass dryer. Here is one of the secondary viable buildable farm areas. Another production below. And then we have our biogas plant. Now, with respect to the biogas plant, I was able to sell the BGA, but the caveat is the BGA doesn't actually go away. So when you sell the BGA, you get some money, but the BGA itself still remains. So this area is basically affixed to the map, unchangeable. So if you are maybe looking to build out your own custom biogas plant, well, you will need to do that at one of the farm building lots. Let's come back here over to our vehicle shop. We'll grab our Mahindra and do our traditional drive around. So in the vehicle shop yard, we do have our dealer trigger. Very clearly marked out over here to our left. We also have a buy point for various products, conveniently with logos on the silo to know what we can buy here. So we can buy herbicide, lime, seed, liquid fertilizer, and solid fertilizer. Then we have our dealer trigger. Go ahead and pick that Mahindra up and start driving around. As far as our spawn point for our new vehicles, we've got a pretty decent yard here for vehicles to spawn in at. Take a look and see how we are as far as getting out of the shop. A little narrow, but again, given the sizes of these fields, you're not likely going to be buying large machinery. I wouldn't expect, really, you're going to be going too far above possibly 6 meters, and all of that stuff typically folds up fairly well. So this is indeed the dealer trigger. So you will be able to custom repaint as well as repair and sell your vehicles. Like I said, there is a whole lot going on in here in town. We're going to try to not miss anything. We have our fuel depot right down the street. And this is also where we're going to be able to sell diesel that we produce. Traffic is a little tight in here. You need to tell people it's rude. My gosh, there's pumps all over the place. It's absolutely rude to just park your vehicle at the pump and then go inside. If you're going to do that, move out of the way so other people can pump. And over here we have our grocery store. Across the street from that, we have our Taylor. This is FS22 standard Taylor. All right, so we have an interactive icon, we have our dump point, we have our pallet spawn point, and then we're going to have a wardrobe trigger out at the front door. Really well done town area. Lots of deco elements, kind of giving this place a bit of a life of its own. We have our dairy across the street. So interactive icon on the front door, dump point, and pallet spawn point. Again, really well done with respect to the decorations. Really kind of liven the place up. And seeing these decorations really reminded me that we didn't really look at the build mode at all. So let's just take a quick little pause and look in our build mode. Now, given the fact that we do have so many required mods, we are likely going to see several of those required mods listed here in build mode. Indeed we do. We do have that custom pallet storage. Custom silo going on here. As far as productions, we should be able to place all of these custom productions because, again, they are part of the various required mods. We have a placeable sell point for our grain dryer. We don't already have that. Here we have our garden plots of various shapes and sizes. There's some custom animal areas that are again part of those required mods. And a large chicken coop that is built into the map. It would have been nice to have seen this pre-placed somewhere. 1,360 chickens. Should have fairly standard deco elements going on here. At least this is a placeable. These are all the deco elements at the second farmyard. And then these would be all the deco elements at the first farmyard. You can sell these in one giant swoop. Looks like he's got it set up so you could place them down as well. As far as ground textures go, we've got a fair bit of ground textures. And then a fair bit of paintable foliage. We're going to have to try to paint those down when we get up to the second farm. Here we have one of the two grass dryers. So the interactive icon, we have our, sorry, this is our grain dryer, not our grass dryer. So we have our interactive icon over here to our left. Then we have our inputs for our grain and diesel. Then we have our output pipe on our right. See if we can't make our way back to the road. We loop around this lake. So we do have traffic on the road. I was starting to wonder, I didn't recall seeing any traffic. Hold up. We may have found that the chickens, which I thought were not on the map. There they are. So, lo and behold, I just mentioned I wished we had the ability to have these chickens, and we do. So here's our 1,360 chickens. Already has 61 in them. We have our egg spawn point. And our food trough. So yeah, I didn't see this earlier. And that's down here right by field 18. So with respect to production being built in and area set aside for such, we're going to begin the map at full point. Again, we have 22 productions built in on this particular map. We're going to begin the map at full point with respect to the ability to sell all our base game crops, production items, and animal outputs. Because we do indeed have the ability to do each and every one of those things. The thing we really are lacking is the ability to sell our platinum expansion. And quite frankly, there's lots of maps that are doing that, so we do not take away any points. Here we have another one of our fill silos. This one has been equipped for the same products over by the dealer shop. So that is herbicide, lime, seed, liquid, and solid fertilizer. Now this particular production is our potato processor. So we're going to be delivering our water to here. We have our fill pipe to get our nice premium pig food. Probably be able to get our stones out of there as well. We have our dump point for our potatoes. Then we have our biogas plant, as I mentioned earlier. Our dump point for our silage. We have our fill point for our digestate. Interactive icon. We have a dump point for our slurry. We have one pull through silage bunker down here. We're gonna take a quick drive through town because I feel we missed a couple things on the first drive through, but here we have our 3 viable construction sites for additional production. It is right down the street from our farmhouse, which is going to be located right here to our left. That's where our pickup truck is currently parked. Pizzeria, which was over to the right. We just drove past that. We have our gas station. We got a baseball game going on here in the background. We have a sell point for our potatoes and sugar beets. So if there was any doubt which map this was used as a basis, it's going to be Elm Creek, because we're down here where we would hear the baseball game on the base map. There we have our vehicle dealer. Then we have several productions going on inside of this area. We have our cereal factory. Fairly basic game cereal factory with everything right here. Interactive icon, pallet spawn, and dump points. We have our spinnery to the right. To the left here, we have our grain mill. Again, this is going to be where we're going to be making our custom flours. We have an interactive icon. We have our dump point. And I'm going to assume that our pallet spawn point is going to be here, but we do not have those indicator markers to reflect that. We have our sugar mill off in the distance. Now this, here we go. This is going to be our pallets. So we have our sugar mill, we have our pallet point, dump point around the back, and interactive icon. Our sugar beet cutter. So we're going to drop sugar beets in the top. We have our fill point for our sugar beets. We have our oil mill over here. And I believe this is going to be a sell point right there and right there. And that is this whole industrial complex. And there we have another sell point, and that's where we had our root crops that we initially took a look at. This is how we get out of here. Get a little turned around. Get a little turned around, no doubt. And since the fields are not that big, the narrowness of these roads should not be that big of a problem. Nice rolling hills of these fields. Everything looks really nice visually. I think this would be a nice map to play on in myself. I like smaller fields. I like things that can get done in a little bit more timely manner. Rosie the cow's on tour. That's a cute little sign. Nice little touch. We're just going to sneak into here. There we go. All these little roads livens the place up a bit, but also can make it a little hairy to get around if you're not super familiar. So here we have our dump point for our wood. We have a wood cell trigger. This is, of course, the sawmill. This is going to be our sawmill production dump point. Our interactive icon and our fill point for our wood chips. So there are two sell points for wood here. One is going to be the general log sell point. The other is going to be the production point for the sawmill. Let's continue to loop around. We'll be coming over to the secondary farm here in a moment. Now, this facility is going to be our grass dryer. So we're going to dump our grass into here. We're going to get our dried grass out of there. This is where I believe we're going to dump our fuel for the dryer. And then this is going to be what I believe is just a general bale sell point. Make our way around the bend here. Here we can buy pig food, TMR, and wheat are basically chicken feed. This is going to be our animal dealer. And then our secondary farm is right around the corner. So here we have the secondary farmyard. And in here we have pigs and chickens. So we have the same storage area that we had over at the main farm with the chickens set up here. So we have our food, we have our egg spawn, and we have our delivery point for our chickens. We have a maintenance trigger inside. Then over here we have the pig area. So we have slurry, our pig buy point. 170 total pigs available in here, and we have 20 at the start. We have our food drop off. We have our pig manure heap right there. Fuel storage, seed production, and then a big large machine shed. So let's go and take a look at some of these paintable textures. We've got a fair bit of these. So we have grass. We have the ability to paint plowed ground, cultivated ground, concrete. Another set of concrete, it says, but it looks like pavers there. Cobblestone, pressed concrete, maybe brushed concrete. We have some brick pavers, an assortment of brick pavers. Here we have stones, some stones with lattice work going on here. Rock, granite, more concrete that looks a lot like dirt. Animal mud, asphalt, more concrete. Concrete's like the generic here. We've got then dirt, porous ground, grass, dry grass, and gravel. So quite a bit of ground textures. We have our normal plants, and then we can also put down big branches. Maple leaves, light caps and mushrooms, foliage, thimbleberry, stinging nettle, maiden fern, small stones, medium stones, small dense mix, grass small, grass medium, grass tallweed, grass long dry, apara, Maramex, white tallweed. We have that one. Then we have Papa Roeus right there. So quite a bit of round textures and paintable textures. So just taking a closer look at all these. Overall, most of these textures do appear to be 3D in nature. All right, this one appears to be flat right here. This is just a flat texture, as is that. That's just a flat image. So of the various paintable textures, we've got a couple that are just flat images. The rest are using the newer texturing methods. We have our paintable now foliage. Going on there. All right. So with respect to buildings where appropriate are using a new texturing technique as well as ground textures, I'm inclined to give the map a full point there. Now we do have a couple ground textures that are not using that newer technique, but I think I'm going to kind of let those slide, just given the vast amount of ground textures that we do have that we can work with. Here we have our fermenter, right? So we're going to be bringing in our grass, hay, straw, chaff into here. Our interactive icon, and then we have our output pipe. So we're going to be bringing in our diesel for the fermenter. We are super close at this point to having this all wrapped up. Fertilizer production, so our output pipe. Again, we can buy seed, lime, herbicide, solid, and liquid fertilizer. From there, we have our interactive icon and our dump point. Quick jaunt, and that should be about it. So with respect to our score, again, we're going to map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such, because we have so much production, and we have 3 viable plots where we could put production down as well. We're going to map a full point with respect to the ability to sell all our base game crops, production items, and animal outputs. We're going to be taking off a 1/4 of a point, so we're going to map 3/4 of a point with respect to the farms being customizable, because while we can sell most everything, the chickens are going to be permanently fixed in both farms, and then the silage bunker over at the main farm is permanently fixed. Here we have diesel production, so we have our pallet spawn point for our diesel fuel. We have a dump point for our inputs, and then we have our interactive icon right there. With respect to abilities where appropriate are using the new texturing technique as well as ground textures, we're giving the map a full point there. We have a lentitude, a bounty of placeable, paintable ground textures and such. And then lastly, trigger and interactive areas being clearly marked. We're going to give the map 3/4 of a point there as well, because we were short a few items where we really wish maybe we had a little bit better indication as to where things were. And I yet really to figure out where the sheep are going to be having their wool spawn at the main farm. So here we have our stone processor. Let's go give the map a score of 4.5 out of 5. Very respectable score. There is a whole lot going on this particular map, and I really like the looks of it. I like the lay of the land. I like the elevation changes on the fields. Like we have multiple elevation changes in the land itself, where the fields in the northwest, for example, are much higher up than these fields kind of more in the middle of the map. Multiple additional viable areas. You want to build out more farms than just the two that are pre-placed. Be an interesting small equipment multiplayer map, as long as people are willing to play with smaller machinery. Because again, in multiplayer, well, sometimes things end up getting scaled out pretty big, pretty darn quick. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below with respect to this particular map. Are you thinking about maybe giving it a play? Are you going to slot it into your holiday playlist now that we are quickly approaching the Christmas holiday? And until next time, happy farming.